The new editor-in-chief of CBS, Barry Weiss, decided to pull a 60-minute story on CECOT, famous El Salvador prison, because of concerns of the Trump administration not wanting the 60-minute episode to air. So this is really just coming to light within the past 24 hours. A lot of reasons for this. CBS pulls 60-minute segment on El Salvador deportations amid internal clash. CBS News spiked a 60-minute piece titled Inside CECOT that detailed abuses at El Salvador's terrorism confinement center, where the Trump administration set 252 Venezuelans accused of gang ties between March and April of 2025 with $4.76 million. The report, cleared 5 times by lawyers, featured interviews with deportees describing brutal conditions, backed by Human Rights Watch accounts of torture. News editor Barry Weiss pulled it for lacking Trump officials' response, prompting leaked protests that hands the administration control over convenient stories. So this is what I'll say. None of this is really new. We already knew she's very, not just she's very right wing. You know, this really, to me, this really isn't a left versus right thing. You can view it this way with this one specific story, but what's really going on is that this lady's working as a propaganda arm for David Ellison and the Trump administration. Of course, the reason that it counts as both David Ellison and the Trump administration is because they're really in cahoots. I mean, what we're seeing right now is David Ellison is also trying to buy CNN through Paramount acquiring Warner Bros. Discovery. And we know that they're really kissing ass with the Trump administration in order to make sure that they end up purchasing Warner Bros. Instead of it going to Netflix, by having the Trump administration consider some legality behind the Netflix purchase. So there's a lot of ties there. And Barry Weiss knows that she has to make sure that the Trump administration remains happy, because the last 60-minute episode that aired with Marjorie Taylor Greene upset the Trump administration a lot. And you guys might actually remember at the time, and I made a previous video on it, when CBS News aired that 60-minute episode with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump went out publicly and criticized the new 60-minute leadership, the new ownership, David Ellison, for allowing the interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene to air. This is because Trump assumed that now the fact that it would be under Barry Weiss and under the David Ellison ownership, the network would be more friendly to Trump. You get what? Do you understand why this is not just about a left versus right thing? This is about a much larger Israel plus the Trump administration working together to push pro whatever Trump wants, and then also whatever the bigger billionaire donors and the billionaire ownership now wants. So listen to hear what Adam Kinzinger had to say, and we'll go ahead and play it right now.
Trump has made it clear that this is insane, and this is CBS News / Paramount / 60 Minutes. Personally, I canceled my Paramount subscription today. These are also the same folks that paid millions of dollars to Donald Trump so they could get this merger to happen. But Barry Weiss, now the head of CBS News, clearly a right-winger, clearly in line with Donald Trump, has made it clear that 60 Minutes will do the administration's bidding now. This is absolutely the opposite of free press, which is ironic since she started an organization called The Free Press. This is insane.
So again, here's the thing. Bernie Sanders went ahead and said, this is what happens when a Trump ally, one of the wealthiest people in the world, buys CBS. Democracy requires a free press that holds power accountable, not billionaires who silence it. This comes after a Washington Post article states CBS News abruptly pulled a 60-minute segment on the Trump administration's deportations after the Trump administration refused to grant an interview, according to an email obtained by the Post. Barry Weiss stated that the reason they decided to pull the CBS segment, the 60-minute segment, is because there weren't enough people speaking on both sides of the table. What's really interesting here, and this is the thing with Barry Weiss, is she's been telling people within her own circle that if David Ellison goes ahead and acquires CNN as well, then she's going to be overseeing not just CBS, which includes 60 Minutes, of course, but also CNN. This is coming from her own statements. Internally, she believes that once David Ellison goes ahead and acquires CNN, it's going to fall under, they're going to put it both together, CBS and CNN under Paramount's larger media umbrella, and they're going to stick her right on top of that to be able to manage all of that. So think about what CNN is now, which is a left-leaning channel, still very heavily pushing pro-Israel propaganda, but imagine the level of the restriction of speech concerning Israel and everything else if now you put Barry Weiss in charge of that too. What left is there? What American media outlets are there left that's not controlled by just a few select group of billionaires? I'm being honest. What is there any other media channel by that point? And here's the thing. Of course, David Ellison and Larry Ellison don't want Netflix to purchase Warner Bros. Discovery. They've made this very clear. And the reason I also mentioned the Trump administration is because Trump is stating that Netflix might be violating antitrust laws if the acquisition happens with Netflix. And he's saying this, of course, because he wants to make sure that Paramount gets it. Because he knows if Paramount gets it, then his friends are going to be the owners of it. And they've already promised Trump, hey, listen, if we purchase CBS, we'll make sure to put good headlines in there for you. You see how everybody's just kind of working together here? So that's kind of what we're headed towards. I don't see it going any other way because today, Larry Ellison, David Ellison's father, went ahead and decided to back Larry Ellison's bid with $40 billion of his own money to really strengthen and to make this bid attractive for Warner Bros. Discovery. This just happened today, by the way. Okay, so they really, really want this thing. And they're going back and forth. And they have no problem, of course, ending the previous deal that they made public with Netflix. That's not a problem. And the speed at which CNN is going to drastically change its empire to fit the sort of propaganda like this that Barry Weiss is trying to push, making sure that certain stories don't get out to the public. Okay. This is the media we live in. And on top of that, this is honestly, the more you think about it, the more it just gets wild because now at the same time, who's the guy who's in the process of purchasing TikTok? His father, Larry Ellison, the guy who just spent, is putting $40 billion on the table to say, hey, I'll back up this bid that my son's doing. While at the same time, he's also working to purchase TikTok. And he wants to be one of the main investors, American investors behind the sale of TikTok, to make sure that, to monitor all of your data to make sure you love Israel. So CBS, CNN, 60 Minutes, TikTok. And these are just some of the big names that I'm putting out. The Paramount, the Warner Bros. Discovery empire is massive, massive. The amount of outlets that fall under them is massive. So it's not just these distinct outlets. It's many, many, many other platforms and channels we're not even discussing here. What is left that it would not be run by a Zionist? I don't know. I do not know what other outlet there would be. I don't know what platform has any sort of free speech at that point. The only thing I can think of is, honestly, X is the best of it. And of course, there's still algorithm monitoring and whatnot. But what other actual news network is there? I don't know. New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, New York Post, it's all run heavily by pro-Israel interests, absolutely. And now it's being owned fully by pro-Israel Zionists. So this is the media environment that we're put in. And what I find so interesting about all of this is because what we know is happening is they're doing this because there is a concern of loss of American support for Israel. This is the thing, guys. They're going in such overdrive, unlike anything we've seen before. The amount of fear, genuinely, it's truly fear. When you see these people going this psycho, trying to purchase every single damn media platform, monitoring all of your data, putting every single every single monitoring software in place, AI, doing everything they can to see what you're up to. Okay. When they do all of this stuff and they're doing it so suddenly, it's been happening slowly. And then all of a sudden now it's within the past, it feels like since October 7th, it's been kind of just slammed in our face. When stuff like this happens, it's because they're genuinely scared of the idea of Americans losing support for Israel long enough for that to trickle into American politics and politicians start to be voted in that are not supportive of Israel, and for that change to happen. because there's a length of time between when Americans start to feel a certain way and the policies start to reflect that. It takes a few years. It takes a few years to sift out politicians. It takes a long time. So there's some leeway there for them to repush their propaganda during that time before it really trickles its way up the system. And they're doing everything that they can to do that. They're doing everything they can to do that. I think it's actually just going to continue to backfire because what we've noticed in this purchase of CBS is the second they stuck Barry Weiss in place, I don't know who the editor in chief was prior to Barry Weiss. And to be honest, I don't care. I don't know. I didn't also know. I didn't also know who Erica Kirk was prior to Charlie Kirk being assassinated. These names are both very new names that are suddenly being thrown out into the media, at least to my media discourse, and to most people that just follow simply the mainstream stuff and they're not looking too inquisitively. Okay, she's part of the American Free Press, Barry Weiss, yada yada yada. What I'm saying is they're shoving this lady in our face now. The whole media knows about her now. She's very much so mainstream because people are sick of her. And they thought that if they put her in charge of CBS, all of a sudden now they're going to be able to change American public opinion on Israel. And what we're seeing now is instead people are leaving CBS. You get what I'm saying? They do things thinking that they can just re-propagandize people after they've spent what 2+ years now seeing babies get blown to bits. And they think, oh, well, maybe if we just put in some celebrities and stuff and make them love Israel again, all will be okay. And all of a sudden, we're just going to reprogram them. You know, it might work for some people, for some really just deluded people. For the majority of people, it's not working, especially for Gen Z, because Gen Z is able to just see what's going on. They start spreading information. Oh, look, here's the new ownership. Oh, look at this. Look at that. They're like, absolutely avoid this. And when they could tell that something is propaganda, it makes them more antagonized to what you're trying to push. The second they feel like it's ingenuine, it's being shoved down their throat, the more they're going to turn the other way. And that's what's happening. So if CNN starts to fall under this larger Barry Weiss leadership, the same thing's going to happen. And it's actually going to backfire more. It's going to destroy and it's going to hurt everything that they're trying to accomplish, which is retraining American support for Israel. Go ahead, purchase CBS, purchase all the mainstream media that you want. People are only going to get more sick of the propaganda that you're shoving down their throat. That's absolutely what's going to happen. So anyways, guys, we'll see how things unfold moving forward. If you found this video interesting, would appreciate it if you click the subscribe button below and give it a thumbs up as well. Helps me reach more people like you. Otherwise, I'll see